Alrighty, so for this tutorial, we are going to go over creating a user dashboard. I was kind of debating on exactly which route I wanted to go with setting all this up, but I think that we will do it this way. So this would be kind of the administration section for a user over their account, where they can view their groups and pages and their shop and everything like that. And I'm gonna start with a blank to do that, and we're just gonna call it dashboard. Okay, so I'm gonna go down here first of all, and I'm gonna change. No, I'm sorry. I'm gonna leave that for now. We're not going to set the dashboard as the logged in page. We're actually going to set the main feed as the logged in page, but the dashboard will be where they go to initially after creating their profile. So go ahead and do that. So in the last tutorial, we set up the profile, create the profile page, and we set up the action to update their account. But now we need to add the navigate action as well. And we'll navigate the dashboard, and we don't want them to be able to navigate back. And we'll just do slide left on that. All right, so getting started with the dashboard, again, we've got our app bar up here, which I am going to use it on this page, so that I can have some icon buttons up here. So what we want to do, the way that I'm going to lay this out is I'm going to kind of set it up so it looks somewhat similar to the way that a user's public profile would look, but adding in some options and things that would be user specific. And one thing I wanted to add in here that I didn't do on my last tutorials was I wanted to go back into the users collection, and I want to add a spot for a banner image. And that way they can have, they can have a banner up here. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do, we've already got a column in here to work with, and I'm just going to have a single color for the background, which really I need to do that over here so that it's consistent. So going into theme, you can set up your colors for your light mode and your dark mode. And primary background right now is kind of this gray color, and I actually would prefer that it be white for my light mode. So now I've got a nice white background here. Okay. So first of all, what I'm going to work with here is I'm going to go up here and grab a widget, and I'm actually going to put a column in here. You can see it's kind of bumped over here to the side. You can start editing it as it is, but I want it centered. So I'm just going to tap on the dot here on the horizontal alignment, just right in the middle. Leave that at 0, so it's right in the center of the screen. And first thing I want to do here is I want to put their banner image and their profile image up here at the top. And I want the profile image to be slightly overlapping the banner image. And so I'm going to have to do a stack to make that happen. So I'm going to drop a stack up here in the in that column. Oops. Okay. All right, so now I've got my stack. And first thing I'm going to add to that stack is just a regular image, which would be my horizontal rectangle image. And I'm going to set its width to infinite, and then grab this drag bar and bring it down a little bit. That looks pretty good. And then I might curve the bottom border slightly. Let's see how that looks. Do those two corners at 8. No, actually, I'm going to leave them. I'm going to leave it squared off. I think that looks better there. Okay, and now I want to add in here I'm sorry. I want to add in here the profile image for that user. So I'm going to go back up here, over here to stack, and I'm going to do a circle image. Now you can see that drop that right on top here. Now I don't want it way up high like this. I can go over here to horizontal alignment and move it around side to side if I want to. And so I kind of want it right there. I want it smaller. 65 is a little too small. Let's try 90. Okay, that'll work. And then I'm going to use my padding and drop it down. So I'm going to do 200. That's a little much. Try 165. No, still a little much. Getting there. Now 100 would probably be good. Yeah, 100 looks good. Okay, so now we've got the profile image and then a banner image, which banner image, when they created their profile, they were not given the option to set a banner image, so this would be something that they could do after the fact. And that's when it would come in handy to have some kind of indication to upload something here. So what I need to do at this point, because we need some filler images. So bear with me. I'm gonna go into my Firebase, and I'm not gonna pull this up on screen because it's gonna drop into my main images, and I don't really want to go into my files and just show that to the world. So so I'm gonna keep that private. But what I'm doing is I am going into my storage on Firebase, and I created a folder in storage called fillers. That's what I use for my filler images, and I'm going to upload. I'm going to upload an image to fill in this background image until they set it as something. And I usually, if I do it this way, I usually set that background image as like the logo for the app. But I don't have a logo for this app because this is just a tutorial, so I'm going to fill it in with something else. Let's see here. Okay, so the image that I'm actually going to use here, I didn't realize I had one available, but it is it's an image that kind of indicates to upload an image there. So you'll see that in just a minute. So I'll drag this over here and let you see it real quick. So in storage, I created a fillers folder, and then I uploaded an image here. And that's the image that I uploaded. Click on that. You can go in here and you can grab the URL for it. Move that out of the way. And then I'm going to tap on the banner image. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to set the path for it. And I want to set that to authenticated user and go down here to where I made the banner image. And that way, when they upload one, it'll show that for them. But in the default variable value, I want to paste that link that I just copied from that uploaded photo. And now it shows that as the background so that they can upload. So something else that I want to do as well is I actually want to add an icon button as kind of an indicator for uploading different photos. So obviously this would tell them, hey, you can upload a photo here. But I don't want them to just tap on this entire thing. I want there to be an actual button that they tap on, and that button will be there even after they upload their banner image. So I'm going to go back over here to stack and add another element to it. And I'm going to go down here to, I really need a new mouse. This thing is driving me nuts. I'm going to go to icon button, and it's going to drop it up here. And then I'll use the horizontal alignment and scoot it over to the edge of the image. And then because their background images could be different colors and things, and you definitely want this to be able to show up here, I want to set a fill color for the fill, the background of the button. And I think I'm just going to do that like in a kind of a light black, a little bit of a grayish color, and then I'm going to make it kind of transparent so you can see that. And I don't want a radius really on that. I might set that to 8. So it's got a little bit of a radius. And then I'm gonna change the icon. And we'll just we'll set it as that. And we'll change the color of that. We'll switch that over to white. Actually, let's do primary text. Okay, and then I may reduce the size of it a little bit. And that should be good to go. So now that indicates that they can upload here. As a matter of fact, I'm going to drop that down just a little bit. There we go. That looks better. All right, so let's go ahead and set that button. Get that taken care of first. And we're just going to add an action, and then we will do upload media, upload photo. I've already done this and the other things. We're going to leave the max width as just kind of open-ended. But our max height, we do want to check. Let's see here. I've got it at 166.7. So for max height, I think I'll go in here and set that to 170. You can adjust the image quality if you want to preserve storage space. I'll just leave that alone. I'm going to show the snack bar for uploading, and you can edit this snack bar and change its font and the colors for it and everything, but I'm just going to leave it set as default. Okay, and so that'll upload. Got to do this. Make sure you set that as Firebase. That'll allow them to upload a picture, and I'm going to leave it as either camera or gallery so they can decide. And I need to obviously add another action here to update the user profile. Authenticated user reference. And we'll go down to banner image, and we'll set that to the uploaded photo. So now if they tap that button, they'll be able to upload a photo, and it'll change it here. That's taken care of. And then obviously we do want to set the path for this to authenticated users photo URL to show their profile picture. And while I'm thinking about the profile picture, I want to jump back from the screen real quick because I realized I didn't do something on the other tutorial. So we're going to go back to create profile. Now you'll note that our form field that we created envelops everything that's part of the form, obviously. Go up here. But we need to set that as well. So I hadn't set that for uploading the image, so we do want to make sure that that's set. That way it forces them to upload a profile image before they can create their profile. All right, so that's done. We can move on from there then. All right, so we got this stuff here. So this is all good to go. So the next thing that I want to do for their profile is I want to create a scrollable options list here. I could do a grid where it'd be like 4 squares, 2 and 2. But I don't think I'm going to do it that way. I think I'm going to just do a scrollable list. But it's not going to be a dynamic list. It won't be pulling the list as a whole won't be pulling data into them, but the list items individually will be pulling data. And so these items will be used for the user to be able to tap on it, see what groups they're a part of, or create a group if they want to. Pages, marketplace, things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add another column. So that column went in underneath my stack. So if I collapse stack, you'll see I've added a new column. And it's butted right up here against it. And I kind of want to drop that down some. So I'm going to probably, let's see here, we'll set it to 28. Okay. Yeah, we'll set that to 28. Now you'll note, before I continue, that I didn't put the user's name anywhere. I didn't put like their username, display name, or whatever. And I did that intentionally because I don't really see a reason for them to need to be able to see their own name or their own about section. Doesn't really make sense. Now they'll be able to go in. There'll be places for them to be able to edit that. But really, I think they just need to be able to see their pictures. So we'll leave that as is. All right, so I'm going to do a list. A couple of ways you can do this. You can do a list view, horizontal list view, or you can use just a row and do it that way. If you use a horizontal list view, which this will become relevant later in the app when we're actually pulling data into the list view itself, which you can do that with other elements, but list view, we're going to use that one for actually pulling data to it. And when you use list view, you actually have to put a container down before you actually add the list view. Otherwise, you won't be able to make the list view horizontal. So I'll just show you what I mean by that. So what I did was I dropped that list view into that column. It's currently set to vertical. If I go and set it to horizontal, it's going to say I've got an invalid action. It's not going to let me do that. And it kicked me out. It does that sometimes. I think I overload the system. So if I wanted my list view to be horizontal, I would have to add a container first. And then I would just set that to infinite, side to side, and then I could adjust it up and down. And then I could paste my list view back in here, and then I'll be able to change that to horizontal. And now it's going side to side. So that's kind of an important thing to know. It got me a little mixed up in the early days as to what was going on. Now, something else that's important with list view inside the container for horizontal is that, well, you know what? I'm not using list view right now. I don't want to go off on a tangent and just explaining list view right now because we're going to use it later, and I'll go more in depth into it at that time. But there's some important things to know about it. So anyway, I'm going to get rid of list view. I'm going to get rid of that container. I could leave it if I want this to have a different background from the main background, but I don't. So I'm just going to get rid of it altogether. And instead, I am actually going to use a row. And I'm going to do evenly space around the child components. And now I want to create my menu options here. So to do that, I'm actually going to go up here and I'm going to use something pre-made. Just use something simple. They've got some little blocks down in here. Yeah, right here. So I'm going to use this one. This one's super easy to make if you want to make it from scratch, but it's very straightforward. Okay, so I've added that. Now I do want to set my row to be scrollable. Kind of lagging out a little bit. Let me refresh so that it runs a little bit more smoothly here. Okay. And then I'm just going to duplicate. And now that I have those fields in place, then I can start working with them for what I want these things to display to the user. I am going to set some padding here and kind of move them around. So I'm going to get that off the wall. Do 12. I'll just do 12 between each one. Okay, so I'm going to tap on the container, and I'm actually going to change the fill color, and I'm going to change it to something else. See what a light blue looks like. Yeah, we'll do that. And do some elevation on them. Kind of make them pop a little bit. All right, so this one, I think I'll leave that icon, and I'm going to change the text in the bottom to groups. So this will be the groups that they're in. And then this one we'll do pages. And that can be pages that they are following or liked or that they created themselves. We can change the icon to something else. Let's just do that. And then this one, click on it down here on the side menu. That way I'll bump it over so I can see it. And for this one, we'll do shop or market. Do a shopping cart. Okay. So now we got these things in here. Now these boxes aren't calling any data yet. They're just static. So we actually need them to be pulling up data. So for the groups, what we want to do first here is we need to get the number of groups that the user is a part of, whether that's groups that they created or groups that they're a member of. And so I'm going to select the container, and I'm going to go up here and do a backend query. And we're going to query a collection, and then we'll query groups. And we don't want it as a single document, we want a list of documents. And we'll leave limit empty. And then we'll go to filter, and we're going to select members reference. Array contains variable the authenticated user. And that way it'll only show up what groups this user is a part of. So we'll leave that. And so now we're pulling data to this, but we want this number to show the number of groups that they're in. So we tap on it and go up here to set from variable. And you can see we have our groups document query, which is querying multiple documents. And tap on that and then select number of items. And you can do the number format, do compact, assuming they're in a bunch of different groups, and you can set the default variable to 0 if they haven't joined anything. And now that'll display how many groups that they are in. And I think I'm going to reduce the size on this, and we'll set it to auto size just in case it gets too long for that box. So this box is confined, this container. So my width and my height are set, so the container will not grow horizontally or vertically, which vertical is not relevant, but it won't grow horizontally if this number gets too long. So if the number gets too long, the number, if it's not set to auto size, will begin to fall off the box, which obviously will look terrible. So you want to make sure that you set that to auto size if you don't have a container that automatically expands based off of the content. All right, so pages, for pages, we're going to do something similar. We'll click on the container and go back in query and query collection, and then we'll do they're up here, business pages, list of documents, and we're going to set our filter. And let's see, I didn't create a following in here, so it was something I needed to change. So for the sake of not being confused, we're going to go over here to our collections and go to biz pages, and we'll actually delete members reference and kind of rename that as we'll do users following. Now, of course, set that as a list, and then your reference be users. Okay, so now we can add our backend query here. And then users following, of course. Array contains authenticated user. All right, so now that'll display the pages, and of course we want to go ahead and downsize this, auto size, and then set the dynamic variable, biz page documents, number of items, and we'll set the number format as the compact. And set that to 0. All right, so now we got that in there. And then lastly, we've got these shops. So again, do another query. And I guess it really depends on how we want to set this up. I think what I will do here, so I could set it up as like if the user was following some shops or something like that, but I don't think that's what I'm going to do with this. I'm actually going to set up how many items the user has for sale. And so we'll do a backend query, query collection, and then we'll do market items, list of documents, set our filter to created by equal to authenticated user. And probably also want to set is available to true. That way it's just showing the number of items they actively have for sale. And then same process. Market items, number of items, number format, compact, 0. Change that to 28 and auto size. Okay, so we now have some menu items set up for this user to be able to identify their groups, pages, and market items. So that's good to go there. That's all I really want to do at that point with the user's profile here. So next thing that I think I want to toss in here is I want to create a feed, a news feed of this user's posts only, so they can just reference things that they have posted. So to do that, we are going to go ahead and drop another column in here, and we're going to move that column down. Move it down. Let's do 28. That should be good. Actually, let's go a little bit further. Let's go 48. Okay, and then I'm going to put some text in here, and I'm going to use a row. And I'm going to bump that over to 12. And I'll put some text in here, and I'm just going to title this my posts. So it's identifiable that those posts belong to that user, and we'll set that at 14. We'll do semi-bold. Okay, so now we want to let's go here. Let's grab our column over here on the side, and now we're going to add a list view underneath that. And the list view, we'll go ahead and drop it down just a little bit below. Let's do 6. So it's off of my posts. And then we're going to add a component in here to display the posts for this user. And you can build this out from scratch. I am going to use one of the templates that they have, but I will kind of go over that template and explain what we've got going on. But it's pretty straightforward, and there will be some editing that we'll have to do to this template. Let's see here, it's down here somewhere. It's not it. Getting there. Wish my mouse would scroll a little bit better. All right, so here's one. And that looks good, so we'll use that one. So we're going to drop this news feed template into the list view, and it's starting to lag again. Okay. All right, so now we've got that in there. So before we go further with setting up that list view, right now if I try and scroll up and down on this page, it won't do anything. So we need to set the page to be able to scroll. And so I want to go to the top level column, which if you look over here in the widget tree is going to be your column that's containing everything else. And I'm going to set that to scrollable and as primary. So now I can scroll up and down here. So now I'm going to go back into my list view. and I want to query now at this point. I'm going to turn primary off and I'll leave it as vertical, obviously. And we're going to query posts now. So we're going to query collection, and we're going to query posts, list of documents, and I'm actually I'm going to set a limit on how many it'll query, so it'll only query up to 50 of that user's documents. The reason for that is that if you leave that open, it's going to query every post this user has ever made, and if users made millions and millions of posts, that would be a very expensive query, and it'd be very, very slow. Flutterflow does have infinite scroll, which means that you can set it, which I'll show you. Basically, it only loads 25 posts at a time, and so once you get down to 25, it'll load the next 25, and that way it cuts down on the lag and also won't query too many posts at one time. Problem is, and last I checked, infinite scroll will not automatically update when new posts are made, or some changes to posts won't show up either. It seems to be a bug, and I know that it's in the bug report for Flutterflow. They are aware of it. I'm not sure when it's going to be fixed. Super useful to have, but it sucks because if you go to create a new post, if you don't trigger the page to reload, which you can do, but I'm not going to do it for this. I don't really want to do it for this page. I want to trigger a reload constantly. So if you don't trigger a reload, then if you create a new post, you come back to your dashboard here, that new post is not going to be visible. And so what you would have to do is go to another page. And if you went to another page and there was a back arrow and used the back arrow, and it's using the back action, it still won't be loaded because you didn't actually reload the previous page, you just went back to it. Essentially a cached version of it. And so in order to make that work and go to another page, you would actually have to have that back arrow redirecting or directing to your dashboard rather than going back. So navigating to a page rather than using the back function for it to reload that page. And that's obviously inconceivable because you need that back arrow to be dynamic and go back to whatever page you came from. So that's not going to work. So I'm going to turn infinite scroll off, and we're going to leave that set as 50. And then our filter, we're going to set the posted by reference, and is equal to variable, and then that'll be the authenticated user. And then we'll do an order by, and we're going to do the date created is decreasing, so your newest post shows up at the top. All right. Now, let's go ahead and confirm that, and it's going to create our list here. Now you can see that it's showing the shadow of various posts coming down. Let's go back up to the post that we can actually work with here and grab the outermost container and set a padding between this container and the ones below it. So there's a space between your posts. And then we'll also, on this container, we're going to add some elevation so you can kind of, it pops out a little bit like that. So now you can see a deviation between them. Okay. So now we're querying posts that were made by this user. Just for sake of not being confusing for the user, we'll go ahead and set this information. So for the path of the photo, we're going to authenticate a user photo URL. Their name will be display name. Username, we're not using a username here. The username is the display name, so we're actually just going to get rid of that. And then we will set the date. We'll go to the post document that it's calling. We'll do date created, and we'll set the timestamp to relative. So it shows like a moment ago or 5 minutes ago, whatever. And then that'll show that. Now in the text field here, we'll set that to the content of the post. And then the photo, we will set it to the photo of the post. Okay, now again, we need to add a few things in here. As you can see, all we have is a photo. And while I'm on the photo, I'm going to go ahead and click Make Expandable. That way they can tap on it and it'll expand. But we need to add in a widget here to be able to display a video if they upload a video as well. So I'm going to grab my video player and just drop it in below the picture. And height and width looks fine for me, so I'm going to leave that alone. And then we'll go ahead and do the variable, and we'll do video. And we're going to turn loop video off. We'll leave controls full screen on, and we'll turn load on page load off, just in case they've got a ton of videos through here that could slow things down if all of them start loading when the page comes up. So it'll load when they click play. It'll load as it's playing, which for people with slower internet connections, that might cause a video to have issues loading. But conversely, if you had it load on page load and they had slow internet, the whole thing would lag out. So for something that is going to show potentially a lot of videos in a thread, not loading on page load is probably best practice. Alrighty, so I believe at this point we've done 3 tutorials. We're now going to work on number 4. We have gone over setting up our collections and getting our app set up with Firestore, and then of course doing our onboarding pages, and then we created just a basic user dashboard, and then some comment page for posts and a comment component for that page. So what we're going to do now with this tutorial is we're going to continue to focus on the user pages. So this is the dashboard, obviously, so we've got most of the stuff kind of built out. I do want to go up here and finish what I was doing with the nav bar, or the app bar at the top. Just gonna give that some color here. I'm gonna make that a little bit smaller. And just give it a title. Okay. And the reason that I'm keeping the app bar up here at the top is I'm actually going to create a drawer, in-drawer menu. And I'm going to have a icon button up here. So I'm going to go ahead and throw an icon button in there. Over here on the right side. Well, what's going on here? It's not wanting to line up for some reason. Seems to be glitching a little bit, so let's see if I can get it in there. Okay, there we go. So Flutterflow is kind of glitching on me. And I will change that to white. And I'm going to make it a menu icon. And probably make it a little bit smaller than that. Okay, and then I need to go ahead and add an end drawer for that button to reference. So drawer would slide out from the left to right, end drawer will slide out from right to left. That's what we want. So we're going to do end drawer. I'm just going to drop it in here, and you'll see that it pops out there. I'll close that, and then we'll set our icon button up here to open that end drawer. Scrolling down, finding drawer, and open end drawer. Okay. So in this drawer, when it creates it, it just starts out with the drawer. There's nothing in there. All you can really do is set the width on it and the elevation. And we're going to leave the width and everything just as it is, but to be able to add stuff to it, the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and toss a container in there so I can give it some color. I'll just leave these at 100. And I'm going to do gradient on it and just kind of keep with some of the other color schemes that I've been doing here. And then I'm going to put a column, and for my drawer, my end drawer, this will be just kind of a user settings type thing, so they can adjust their profile settings, stuff like that. I'm not going to work a whole lot on this right now, but I just wanted to go ahead and get it built just a little bit. And I'm actually going to drop another column in here, and I'm going to break things up by columns. And I'm going to, even though I have safe area turned on, which safe area, I think I already explained that, I'm pretty sure, so I'm not going to go over it again. But even though I have safe area turned on, it's still overlapping. Excuse me. And so I'm actually going to want to drop this down, this column down. And so quite frankly, I kind of want things down here. So I'm probably going to go, let's try 60 and see if that gets me kind of where I want to be. And then what I will do from here is I want to create menu buttons for the user to be able to reference, and I think I'll make them stand out a little bit. So I'm actually going to go ahead and put a container in here. I'm going to adjust the height. I don't want it quite that big. But the width I am going to set at infinite. Yeah, that looks good. So we'll leave that like that. I think that'll be fine. And then I can apply my row. And what I probably want here, I think I probably want an icon and then some text. And I'm actually going to space these end to end so that they are even on every menu option going down. But I don't want them that far out. I don't want them right butted up against it. So I will adjust the row. On the left side, I'm going to move it in 18. That's a little far. Let's do 12. I'm going to do 12. And then on the right side, I'm going to do 22. And change this to semi-bold. That's fine. So now when I'm ready to go through here, I don't want that. That'll work. So when I'm ready to set up all these options through here, I've got kind of a template to work with, and I can duplicate and then just set a little bit of padding between them, and then I can work down the list as I need to. But we will come back to the end drawer. I'm not going to really dive into that right now. I would like to focus on some other stuff. So something I need to do here, I am going to have a bottom menu. And I could make a custom menu and use a stack and do it that way, and then create my custom menu as a component so I can use it across screens. But I'm not going to do that for this tutorial. I'm actually going to use the built-in nav bar. And show on this page. Now you have to have the nav bar on 2 pages for it to show up, and I don't have another page yet where I want it to be. So it's gonna have that red bar there until I have another page to apply the nav bar to. Change that for now. And so we'll be able to adjust these things when we're ready to do that. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and first of all I'm gonna create a folder, and it's gonna be my user pages folder. Which is where my dashboard will go. And all the other user pages. I'm going to go ahead and create a page, although I'm not going to fill it out right now, but I'm going to go ahead and create my main feed page. And I'm just going to do it as a blank. And we will work on that in a different tutorial. But this way I can go ahead and I can create my nav bar down here so that we can see what that looks like. And I want that to be different. Don't really know what icon I want to use for it right now, so I'm sure this will probably change. So I'm just going to use road because that'll work for now. Okay. So now we got that, and that gives me this nav bar back over here. And I don't want that to be a house. I want it to be a dashboard. All right, there we go. So got that taken care of, and then we'll adjust the settings and everything on the nav bar eventually. So moving on with setting up user pages and things like that. Next thing that I want to do is I actually want to create the public profile page. That would be what everyone else sees for a user. So we're going to go ahead and create a page, and they actually have some pretty decent ones for profiles. They're pretty simple to work with. I swear I'm going to buy a new mouse. This thing is driving me crazy. The roller on it is jerking around. Yeah, it just kind of stopped working the other day, so I think it's time for a new one. But anyway, they've got this as a profile. They got that as a profile. And then they've got this one as a profile. And, you know, I don't think I'm going to use any of those. Well, I don't know if I want to use any of those or not. Kind of hard to say, really. I mean, when it comes to addressing my lack of design skills, be useful using a pre-built page, but at the same time, I kind of need to build the page out. So I guess we're going to just use a blank. And we'll call it public profile. And let's grab it and drop it under user pages. Okay. All right, so up here, I am going to leave a navbar column. So I'm going to do a couple of things here. I am going to add a container and set it to infinite 100%. That's what I'm going to work inside of here. Okay. You know what? Thinking about it, for sake of ease, so I'm not just repeating a bunch of stuff I've already done, we're actually going to delete this. And we are going to go to dashboard and we're going to duplicate it, and then we're going to redesign it for the public profile. So we'll duplicate the page. Now, granted, we could use conditional visibility and hide stuff so that we only have one page. And that way, if that page belongs to the authenticated user, things will show up, such as that button or this button or these things. And if it's, you know, somebody looking at a user's page, then those things be hidden, which is all fine and dandy. But we're not going to do that. We're going to have two separate pages for this. So, so we got the dashboard copy here, and I do want to move that into user pages, and then I want to change the name of that page to public profile. And now there are things that I can obviously get rid of here that I don't want the visiting user to have or be able to see here. I don't know why it does that sometimes. It'll drop this menu button in here that is not removable. It's not the button that I put in there. I don't know if that's a glitch or if that's supposed to do that, but it's not always there. So I'm actually going to totally remove that, the app bar up there. But I do want an app bar because I want a back button. So I'm going to come down here and grab this one, and it's still there. I really don't understand why it does that. Oh wait, yes I do. I'm an idiot. I do know why it does that. Because I have an in drawer. It has to have a button to go to. So I don't want the in drawer on this page because this is public profile. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to get rid of it. Backspace delete. So it's gone now. Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, it's late. My brain is not functioning correctly right now. So I don't want any information up here. I don't need that. And then as far as the app bar goes, as far as the color, we're going to do some dynamic stuff here for the color. Which reminds me, we'll get to that in a minute. So I'm just going to leave the colors blue. We'll come back to that. We do want a back button, but I actually want it smaller than that. Don't really like how big that is. And it's already set to navigate back, so that's good to go. Okay, so on later pages, when we set these pages up, when we have the main feed and maybe a place where you can search users and stuff like that, when you find a user and you tap on them, it'll bring you to their public profile. And just like we did with passing parameters from a post over to the comments page, similar function will happen when you pass a user over to the user's public page. However, we don't have any users any user lists or anything like that on any other pages to pass that parameter, but I need that parameter to be able to set up other things on this page. So I'm going to go up here to page parameters, and I'm going to go ahead and create that that parameter. And then whenever I get ready to pass that parameter from other pages, it'll already be available to me. So I'm going to set that as a user reference, and it'll be document reference and users. And now I can work in here and set these things up to reference the correct person. So as it is right now, this image is showing the authenticated user's image because we copied the page, but we don't want that. We want it to actually show, oops, sorry, I do have to call in the correct data. So I've got the page parameter, but I need to call that data from that parameter. So I'm going to add a backend query, and I'm going to do document from reference and users, and I'm going to reference that page parameter. And now I can set these specifics here. So now I've got that user, and we'll change that to their photo. Whoops, that's the wrong photo. That wouldn't have looked right. Banner image and profile. There we go. That's what we want. All right, so public profile here. And we're going to get rid of this. I'm not going to have that for a public profile. And we are going to use this, but we're not going to use it right now. In a moment we are. Let's go ahead and work up here first though. So I want to, obviously I want to add that user's display name. And let's do a row. We could do it as a stack. But I think I'll keep it as a row. Yeah. That'll work. All right, so I'm going to keep that as a row. And I'm going to want it to be over here. Okay, so we got that stuff in there. So what I want to do now is, let's say that a user does not upload a photo, but does upload a video, or vice versa, or doesn't upload either. I don't want this space to exist. So if there's nothing in here, for instance, if they don't upload a photo and there's nothing to display, you could still run into the issue of there being this massive gap here. It won't show anything, it'll just be white, but it'll be a huge gap between content and then your bottom menu bar. And so we want this thing hidden if it's not filled. So we're going to set a conditional visibility on it. And we'll go to conditions in a single condition. And the first value, we're going to go to post and select photo. And then we'll select is set. So in this way, this photo will only show up if something has been loaded into it. And we're going to do the same thing for video. Okay, so those will be hidden or visible. Now, if they upload a video and a photo, let's just throw some space between them here. Actually, let's do less than that. We're going to do 6. We're going to drop that down by 6. And we'll do this by 6, so it's even. Okay, so that's good to go there. So now you got these things uploaded. So now we need to take a look down here at this and what we want to do here. I'm not going to have the save icon because it's the user's profile. There's no reason to have that. And I'm also not going to have the share icon here. I'm just going to have comments and likes. Now, best way that I found to do likes, and there are a couple of different methods to achieve this, but again, this is the method that I found works the best for me. So the likes, the little icon and then the number of likes here are contained within a row. And so I can add a column here and stack these if I want to, or I can just do it horizontally, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm actually going to duplicate the heart. And then I'm going to go over to this one on the right, and I'm going to get rid of this left-hand padding so they're stacked right next to each other. I'll leave this one the same, or alone as it is, and then I'm going to do this one as a filled. And we'll change the color and set it to red. Okay. So, I think, given that this is the user's profile that they're viewing, I actually think I'm going to get rid of this icon. And I'm going to kind of do it like what, I don't know what other platforms do it this way, but I'm going to do it like Reddit. So when a user creates a post on Reddit, it automatically likes the post for that user. And so that's actually what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm just going to have the like button already filled. So there's not a whole lot that I need to do at this point with the like icon. That'll come later. But I do need to display the number of likes that the post has received. So I'd go into the post document and I would select likes. And I would change number format to compact. Setting the default variable as 0 is irrelevant because it'll always have 1 since it allows the user who created it, it adds a like for that user. And let's set that to singing bold. All right, so now that'll show the number of likes that they have on that post. All right, so now comments. What we need to do is we need to essentially query the comments. So what we need to do then is we need to set this up as a button that'll direct to a comments page, and that's how I'm going to do it here. You can do it a number of ways. You could have the comments showing up below each post and like expanding down or whatever you want to do, but the way I'm going to do it is actually have a separate location for comments. I think what I'm going to do for that is I'm actually going to create a whole separate page for comments. And they have some pre-made stuff for that, which sometimes makes this a little bit easier to jump in and get it done. So there's one. It's kind of a pre-made deal here, and I think I will use that, but we'll edit it and clean it up a little bit, make it look better. So we'll set this as post comments, and we'll create that page. So we're going to leave that alone for now. We're going to go back to our dashboard. And let's go in here real quick. So to generate the number of comments that have been made to a post, we'll query, we'll set a variable here, and we'll go to the post document and scroll down and select comments reference. And we'll do number of items. And number format, of course, will be compact. And then we can set the default variable to 0. So now it's showing how many comments are tied to this post. Okay, so now I want this to go to the comment section. I'm actually going to make this entire row a button instead of just this, because sometimes on smaller screens it's hard to tap that tiny little icon. I could use an icon button, but I'm not going to do that here. So I'm just going to make the whole row a button. We'll do an action, and we're going to do a navigate to. and that's going to go to post comments. And we'll allow back navigation so they can back navigate to their dashboard. And let's do a scale for the transition. We'll set that to 300 milliseconds. And now we need to define a parameter because we want to pass this, whatever post that they click on the comments for, we want to pass that post's document ID to those comments so that we're referencing the correct comments. So we're going to do define parameter, and I'm going to set it as post ref, and it's going to be document reference posts. So I'll click confirm, and now I'll pass that parameter. And from the unset variable, I'll find posts, and I'll scroll down and get the reference. So now it's passing the relationship between the comments and the posts to the comments page.